And we're kicking off with tomorrow's Crown Jewel event in Saudi Arabia, and if history is any indication, this will be a massive show. As we previously reported, the majority of talent made the trip from the US to Riyadh yesterday, but fans won't be seeing any superstars take part in a press conference. On X, BWE revealed that a few talent will be visiting the site of Crown Jewel today, and when a fan asked if a press conference is planned, BWE said there won't be a pre- or post-show press conference. The reason BWE gave is that the location is not ready to host press conferences yet, implying that it may be something that could happen again in the future. Perhaps the weather may have played a factor in WWE's decision to not hold press conferences, as BWE added that everyone is worried about heavy rain forecast for this weekend. WWE runs outdoor stadiums with a canopy whenever they work a show in Saudi Arabia, and if the weather is really bad, it may keep superstars in Saudi after the show is over. The Mohammed Abdu Arena in Riyadh does not have a roof, but WWE will try and go on regardless of the weather. But this Crown Jewel may be the wettest in WWE's relationship with Saudi Arabia. Seth Rollins is the top WWE superstar on Monday Night Raw, and for good reason, but later this month, the reigning World Heavyweight Champion will be making the trip to Smackdown. On X, Rollins posted his schedule for November and revealed that he will be a part of the November 24th Smackdown, which will also be the go-home show before Survivor Series. As to what Rollins will be doing at SmackDown in Chicago is unclear, as with WWE ditching the Raw vs. SmackDown theme for Survivor Series, it's not like he's needed at the November 24th episode. Perhaps Rollins will only appear after the show has gone off the air, but with Crown Jewel tomorrow night, the big question will be whether Seth is still the World Heavyweight Champion when he comes to SmackDown later this month. At this time, MJF is the unquestionable top star in AEW and has earned that place with his excellent work, but MJF's time with the company is running out. During his time as a heel, MJF would taunt fans with the prospect that he'd leave and join WWE when his contract expires, even referencing WWE higher-ups like Nick Khan in promos. MJF may not be the same heel he once was, but taking to X, the world champion simply posted 58 days, a nod to when his AEW deal expires, before quickly deleting the post. This post comes the same week the poster for AEW All In 2 was revealed, which features the likes of Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, Tony Storm, and more, but the AEW World Champion isn't featured. As the saying goes, the devil is in the details, and fans were quick to notice that the devil was not on the poster for what'll be AEW's biggest event of 2024. It's especially notable considering that MJF was part of the first and last match that took place this year in Wembley Stadium, and we'll have to see where MJF lands when the bidding war starts. For all we know, it may have already begun, but this poster certainly doesn't show an incredible amount of confidence that he'll even be on the roster next August. Do you think MJF is really leaving AEW for WWE, or is all his talk and his tweet just a tactic to squeeze out a better deal? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. During the 2023 WWE Draft, Odyssey Jones was called up from NXT to Raw, only to be quietly moved to SmackDown without making his Red Brand debut. It's since been reported that Jones was drafted to the main roster without WWE having a plan in place for him, but now fans can expect to see him on TV in the near future. PW Insider reports that Jones has not been on the road recently, but that is expected to change, but gave no indication of when exactly Jones will be in the ring again. It was reported last month that Jones was being considered for Bobby Lashley's stable alongside the Street Profits, but Fastlane later reported that there's no confirmation that this will happen. A 405-pound beast who's surprisingly agile in the ring, Jones could do a lot on WWE TV if given the chance, but as to when we'll see him back in the ring, that remains to be seen. It was in March of last year that Big E suffered a broken neck due to a suplex outside the ring gone wrong, and despite the injury, the former WWE champion was able to avoid having surgery. During Busted Open Radio, Big E was asked if there was any update about a potential return to competition, but unfortunately he's not sure when, if ever, he'll be back in the ring. He said, "I wish I had more information for you. Right now, there really is no timeline. I've been to a few different doctors who have looked over my scans. I don't have any issues, I feel great, but I broke my C1 in 2 different places. It's called a Jefferson fracture, and because of the nature of the fracture, it takes longer to heal. Initially, they told me 3 months. I thought 3 months and I'd be back to wrestling, but things ended up being more complex. There are chances I might take with a broken forearm or finger, an ACL injury I've had before. I started wrestling when I was 23, and at the time I was like, if I die in the ring doing what I love, so be it. I'm 37 now, and you see life differently, and you have other things to think about. I'm trying to make the best decision for myself and my health moving forward. I don't have any answers. One of the most beloved members of the roster, everyone in WWE is wishing the absolute best for Big E, but the best for his health could mean that his in-ring career is over. Ultimately, it is still a waiting game as to when Big E returns to action, if that ever happens, and all we can do is wish him the best in whatever comes next. It was earlier this year, while still suspended from AEW, that CM Punk was backstage at an Impact taping, and Punk also attended the post-Bound for Glory tapings last month. With Punk getting friendly with the Impact roster, many are speculating whether he could be close to signing a deal, and whatever the future holds, Impact is ready to welcome him into the fold. Speaking on What Do You Call It, Impact President Scott D'Amore was asked about Punk and said he was very pleasant and respectful the both times he showed up at tapings. D'Amore said that Impact talent, including former world champion Josh Alexander, had a great opportunity to chat with the veteran and learn tricks of the trade, and added, "Would we be open to having CM Punk join Impact Wrestling? Of course, why wouldn't we? You look at the business he drove for WWE, and you look at what he did at AEW. He lifted AEW and ticket sales went up, viewers went up, pay-per-view buys went up. If it's the right fit and it works for him and for us, business-wise, and if it's a good fit relationship-wise, the one thing that is unwavering is, you come into our locker room, it has to be somebody who is going to come in, fit in, be respectful. Punk has been that anytime he has come around us. We don't judge based off of what you hear, we judge based on what you do around us, and he's been nothing but a pleasure to be around. Is it a possibility? Never write it off as being something to happen. I get a kick out of all the stories I read. Oh, we made an offer, we did this. Somebody should tell me some of this stuff. We remain open to any possibilities, whether it's joint venturing, doing collaborations with other companies, talent coming in, whatever it is. If it's good for business and it makes sense and the fans are into it, we're open." Impact would certainly make headlines if they were able to sign CM Punk, and with the move to the TNA name coming in January, his debut could happen in line with that change. CM Punk's exit from AEW fueled rumors of where he'll go next, and while Impact and the NWA have shown interest, many still hold out hope for his return to WWE at Survivor Series in Chicago. That show will be taking place in the Allstate Arena, a venue Punk is very familiar with, but we'll just have to see what happens next for the Chicago-made wrestler. Fans aren't expecting Punk to return to the UFC, as it's been years since he had his debut fight for the company, which saw him lose in the first round to Mickey Gall at UFC 203. In unsealed UFC lawsuit documents, Bloody Elbow has learned that Punk was paid $1,042,736 for that fight, equivalent to $7,781.61 per second he was in the cage with Gall. For this week's Dynamite, AEW came to Louisville, Kentucky, a city that does have a wrestling history, but it appears the fans in Louisville weren't interested in AEW's flagship show. The KFC Yum Center has a capacity of 22,000, but AEW scaled the show for 4,860 fans, and in the event, only 3,616 tickets for the event were moved, according to WrestleTix. One fan who was in attendance took to Twitter to share an unflattering photo of the seats, showing dozens upon dozens of empty chairs, which AEW were able to avoid sharing on TV. While photos of empty seats have become common for AEW Collision, it's not often we see photos like these from Dynamite, as AEW's flagship show seriously struggled to attract fans this week. It turns out that not everyone who attended the show paid to get in, as the show also made use of volunteer seat fillers, according to Ringside News. A document to these seat fillers instructed them to get to the show by 6:30 p.m., and even said that there's room for more seat fillers, so encouraged those volunteers to bring friends along. Considering the photo we've seen, there was indeed plenty of free seats ready to be filled, but it's important to note that seat fillers aren't a new thing, and they've been used by WWE as well. It's not uncommon to have a bunch of people waiting for instructions to run down and sit in seats so they can be seen on television instead of an empty chair. But with the number of empty chairs at Dynamite, these seat fillers certainly had their work cut out for them. During this week's Dynamite, Jon Moxley delivered a brutal beatdown to Orange Cassidy following the latter's successful AEW International title defense against Claudio Castagnoli. Amid the post-match assault, officials came down to the ring to separate both men, with some being struck by Moxley, which could cost the former world champion dearly. On commentary, Excalibur was heard saying, "He's gonna have to be careful. Fines or suspensions could be coming his way too." And with Claudio also getting in the fray, he could face similar repercussions. While the post-match attack on Cassidy was planned, the feeling in AEW that the strikes on the non-wrestlers was a bit too far, and both Moxley and Castagnoli were chastised backstage. The sentiment of this backstage talk was that both men were told not to do this again, and the situation ended relatively well, but things did get a bit out of hand during this week's Dynamite. On last week's Dynamite, Ric Flair debuted for AEW as Tony Khan's special gift for Sting, and now fans will be seeing much more of the Nature Boy on TV. In a statement, AEW announced that Flair has signed a multi-year deal with AEW, and as part of this deal, his Woo energy drink will become the official drink of the company. Speaking to Variety, Flair addressed any possible bad blood between WWE and himself following his AEW debut, and doubts anyone in the company has an issue with his arrival. He said, "I don't think anybody at WWE begrudges me. I've earned the respect and I respect them. I haven't heard one negative word from anybody over there because I think they feel I've earned the right to go out and do what I want to do." Flair hasn't been announced for any future AEW events, but he will be around, as he plans to be by Sting's side as the Icon prepares for his last chapter of his wrestling career. Earlier this year, it was reported that Kairi Sane was set to return to WWE 3 years after asking to be taken off of TV and 2 years after leaving the company completely. While news of Sane's return broke months ago, she still had some non-WWE dates to finish first, but with those done, we've had a huge sign that her return is very soon. WrestleVotes was the first to report that Sane has now been re-added to WWE's internal talent roster, adding that her return is imminent, and PW Insider sources would verify this report. We'll have to see what Sane does once she returns, but we do know that she has a history with Nia Jax, who also recently returned to WWE programming. Perhaps a reunion with her Kabuki Warriors ally Asuka could be in the works, and whatever's next, expect Sane's return to programming in the near future. On the independent scene, Steph DeLander has been making a name for herself, but now the star who's competed for WWE, Impact, ROH, and GCW has called out Capital Championship Wrestling. Taking to X, DeLander shared her experiences with CCW, saying that almost every female talent was guilted into working for a lower rate, and merch was sold without the approval of female talent. When that merch sold, those wrestlers didn't see a cent of profit, and DeLander added that there was $100 suspiciously missing from her pay packet. DeLander added that when she worked her first show, the company did not book a hotel room for her despite promising to, leaving her to wait for hours at the airport. When CCW did book a hotel for her, it was a booking that included 2 other wrestlers from Impact, which was not a problem if not for the fact that the room CCW booked only had 1 bed. In a lengthy statement, CCW said that they intend to give talented women the chance to showcase their skills, adding that it is impossible to please everyone, no matter how hard we try. While CCW did admit to making a mistake, they said it was an issue with a sponsor who was promptly refunded, and then said that, frankly, we do not generate any revenue. CCW tried to save face by saying that their talent aren't merely a booking, but a part of our family. But after backlash from X users, the tweet and the account were promptly deleted. Steph DeLander's future in wrestling looks bright, with Matt Cardona saying he'd bring her back to WWE if he returned, but one place fans won't be seeing her is Capital Championship Wrestling. For some time now, Adam Copeland has been open about his future in the ring, and is well aware that his in-ring career is coming to an end. Many have suggested that Copeland's choice to join AEW was affected by his time running out, as he wanted one big run out of WWE before hanging up his boots, but how much time does he have left? During an interview on ESPN's The Drop, Copeland spoke about his time after leaving WWE, and admitted that he wasn't sure if his Smackdown match with Sheamus would be his last. Retirement was an option. There were 3 options. It was WWE, retirement, and once I was free of my contract, AEW was an option. I had those 3 and I sat with it, I really did. I had discussions with the family, with my friends, and it really was Lyric, my 9-year-old, who put it to me plainly. Are you still having fun? Yeah. Where are you gonna have the most fun? With Uncle Jay. Meaning Christian Cage. It seemed like a no-brainer, and then talking to Tony Khan and his excitement levels for it, that gets you excited. We started going down the list and seeing all those potential matchups and the stories we could tell. It got very exciting. I'm also a realist in regard to there's only so long that can last. I don't want to be pulling anything down. I still want to be propping up. I don't know how long that means, but I do know it gets tougher every year. I feel great, and as long as I feel great and I feel like I can maintain a certain level, that's how long I'll be around. Copeland turned 50 this past Monday and realizes that his in-ring career cannot last forever, but at least at this time, the rated R superstar will have the chance to retire on his own terms. It's been close to 2 months since Viking Raider Erik last competed, and now we know more about the injury that's keeping him from the ring. On Instagram, Erik revealed that he has had neck fusion surgery and thanked the team at Andrews Sports Medical Center and St. Vincent's Hospital, as well as WWE, for ensuring him the best care. With his C6 and C7 vertebrae fused, Erik will be out of action indefinitely, and in his absence, Ivar has been receiving quite the singles push and will even be part of a four-way next week with an Intercontinental title shot up for grabs. As for Erik, his only focus now is on healing up, and we're wishing the Viking the very best on his road to recovery. Now, Timeless Toni Storm has proven to be a hit with AEW fans, and in segments, the former Women's World Champion has been catered for by her butler, Luther. Recently, the wrestler's name was changed to Lutha with an A on AEW's roster website, but in a strange turn of events, the name has now been changed again, back to Luther. As for why either name change happened remains a mystery, but with Storm continuing to be a highlight each week, expect to see the butler in segments no matter what his name is. It's been close to a year since Mandy Rose was cut from WWE due to the content on her website, and Rose has claimed she was never given the chance to take the content down before being fired. Given how much money Rose has made on the site, it's unclear if she would have taken the site down if given the chance, but fans will soon get to see Rose at an autograph expo in New York. Rose will be part of next week's big event expo in NYC, which will include wrestling alum including Kevin Nash, Trish Stratus, Rhea Nikki Garcia, and WWE Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley. Rose hasn't competed since WWE, but has said that she isn't opposed to a return to the ring, and until then, she'll get the chance to meet her fans next week at the big event expo. It was 1 year ago this week that Jeff Jarrett made his AEW debut by attacking Darby Allin, and in addition to his on-screen role, Jarrett works as AEW's Director of Business Development. When WrestlePurists asks fans on X what they make of Jarrett's first year with AEW, fans were hardly flattering, with one calling him one of the worst AEW hires in their short history. Another argued that for every time Jarrett is on TV or getting title shots, a young wrestler is sitting backstage, while another simply referred to AEW as all elderly wrestling. Jarrett's done a lot in AEW both on screen and backstage, but what do you make of his time with the company? Sound off in the comments. Since joining WWE, Samantha Irvin has proven herself as a ring announcer time and again, but could fans be seeing much more of the talented performer online? On X, an irate fan said that WWE was shoving her in our faces and claimed that Irvin is promoting an OnlyFans account, but gave no proof that this was the case. Responding, Irvin's fiancé Ricochet made it clear that Irvin doesn't have an OnlyFans, but joked that he and his bank account wishes that she did. Of course, if Irvin were to open an OnlyFans account, it would put her at odds with WWE, and while on-screen talent have more freedom in terms of third-party deals than before, the site may still be off limits. Ultimately, it'd be Irvin's choice as to whether she opens an OnlyFans account, and there's no proof that she already has one, but her husband-to-be isn't opposed to the idea, and neither is his bank account. Later this month, Paul Wight will compete for the first time in over a year as part of an 8-man tag, but this match may be a match that the Giant regrets having. During Wrestling Observer Radio, it was noted that when Wight recently visited OVW, his movement was very poor and that he had big braces on his knees. Hopefully, the stipulation means Wight will not have to do a ton of work, but with his mobility poor, the November 15th Dynamite will be a tough night at the office for the wrestling veteran. Right now, MJF is one of the hottest names in wrestling, and recently the AEW World Champion and ROH World Tag Team Champion has caught the eye of Hollywood. MJF recently voiced DC Comics villain Killer Croc in the Justice League meets Ruby crossover animated film, and is set to play a role in the upcoming Iron Claw biopic on the Von Erichs. In an article by The Hollywood Reporter, MJF was praised for his work, and his name was in the same conversation as other wrestlers turned actors such as The Rock, John Cena, and Batista. The report predicted that MJF could well be the next to make the journey from the ring to the silver screen, as we may be seeing more roles offered to AEW's resident scumbag. As to what that'll mean for MJF's in-ring career, time will tell, but with MJF already teasing a bidding war in early 2024, we'll have to see if Hollywood wants more from the AEW World Champion. And we're ending with Kenny Omega, who has established himself in the ring for years, and recently the former world champion played a role in Netflix's anime-inspired series Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. On Busted Open Radio, Omega said the show was the perfect setup for him and hopes to have a presence in voice acting when he's not wrestling anymore, so fans will get to enjoy Omega long after he's hung up his boots.